Hello everyone, today we will be discussing the parts of the brain. The first portion of the brain we'll be talking about is the midbrain, which is this red portion right here, and that functions as a relay station between higher brain centers and the brainstem. The next portion we'll talk about is this blue portion right here, which is called pons, and that contains nuclei that aids in respiration, sleep, and posture. The next portion we'll be talking about is this green portion right here, which is called the medulla oblongata, and that contains several nuclei, which includes the cardiac center, which regulates heart rate, and the vasomotor center, which regulates blood pressure, and the respiratory center, which regulates breathing. The next portion we will be talking about is the diencephalon, which is in the middle of the brain. So the first portion we'll be talking about is this blue portion, which is the thalamus, which directs sensory impulses to the appropriate region in the cerebrum. The next portion we'll be talking about is this red portion right here, which is the hypothalamus, and that connects the nervous and the endocrine system and also controls the pituitary gland. This portion is also responsible for maintaining homeostasis, and it functions in ways such as thermal regulation, hunger and thirst, and sleep cycles. So the next portion we'll be talking about is this portion of the brain, and this portion in the back of the brain, which is called the cerebellum, and the cerebellum plays a major role in coordination of skeletal muscles functions such as balance, posture, complex movement, and speech. So the next portion we'll be talking about is the cerebrum, which is the largest and the most complex portion of the brain. So I have them label 1 to 5 just because I ran out of colors and I want to make sure each part of the brain isn't confused or mixed up. So the first portion we'll be talking about is this front portion right here, which is called the frontal lobe, and that controls voluntary motor functions such as skeletal muscles control and higher level cognition. And the next portion we'll be talking about is this red portion right here, which is called the parietal lobe, and that is primarily responsible for receiving and interpreting signals of the general senses. And the next portion we'll talk about is this portion right here, which is called the insula, and that functions in understanding spoken language and taste. And this right here is the cerebellum down here, which we already discussed. And the next portion we'll be talking about is the temporal lobe. So the temporal lobe processes hearing and smells. And the last portion we'll be talking about is the occipital lobe, which is this portion right here. The occipital lobe is the principal visual center.